This video is brought to you by this crayon. It's just a silly crayon.
Anyone else remember that time in the late 90s when the South Park guys starred in that wacky and kooky sports movie, BASEketball? Yeah, the critics didn't really like it at the time, and it made very little money. But I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, this movie is the work of oddball comedy genius, where Trey Parker and Matt Stone play two dudes called Coop and Doug who invent a game called BASEketball, which actually becomes a major sport, where you must try to psych out your opponent, where many gross out gags ensue, most of which I can't even talk about, or YouTube will no doubt send me to the naughty corner. But what the heck? It's time to get out your Marlon Brando liposuction smoothies as we look into 10 things that you didn't know about this movie, of which has given us one of the greatest gifts put on film. Yep, that's right, Robert Stack sending up unsolved mysteries. Number 10. BASEketball came from the mind of a comedy spoof movie legend. Despite BASEketball featuring South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone, both in the movie and all over its marketing, it actually wasn't their creation. Nope. The movie's concept goes all the way back to the 80s, with comedy filmmaker David Zucker, who previously co-wrote and directed the comedy classic Airplane, as well as the Naked Gun film series, all of which were movies he made with his brother Jerry Zucker and Jim Abrahams, would return to the world of zany comedy once again, with him being the director of BASEketball, as well as its producer and co-writer. So this movie was truly his baby. BASEketball was in fact a real-life game that he invented and played in the 1980s. Just like in the movie, he started playing in his driveway, but it ended up becoming so popular, at its 5th season championship, LA news stations reported on the game. So, being a connoisseur of funny movies, I guess Zucker decided to make a movie based on this strange game that he invented. Number 9. Before BASEketball was a movie, it was going to be a TV series. So yeah, before Zucker's vision leapt onto the big screen, he originally envisioned BASEketball to be a TV show on the small screen. Now Zucker was no stranger to television, having previously co-created the TV comedy series Police Squad, a show that would lead to the creation of the Naked Gun movies. So the plan was to make a pilot, which was to star Chris Rock. Hey, just as long as Will Smith wasn't there to slap him, I'm sure it would have been great. However, BASEketball failed to take off as a TV show, so the TV show idea was abandoned. Interestingly though, according to Wikipedia, the Chris Rock BASEketball pilot was filmed, but I couldn't find any footage of it whatsoever. No photos, no reports, no nothing. Who knows, maybe it's in a vault somewhere, being guarded by top men. Top men. Number 8. Then South Park changed everything. Despite failing as a TV show, Universal Pictures still decided that it wanted a slice of a BASEketball pie and greenlit the project to be a movie, probably due to the success of fellow sports comedy Happy Gilmore, which came out a few years earlier, of which Universal also distributed. Now, David Zucker originally wanted to cast Chris Farley in the movie, for it to basically be a Chris Farley vehicle, like Black Sheep and Beverly Hills Ninja. However, around about this time, there was a phenomenon happening on TV, a phenomenon like no other. That phenomenon was in fact South Park, a new adult animated comedy series, which dared to go to the places that The Simpsons wouldn't dare. I mean, the show is going to be something special when the very first episode is titled Cartman Gets an Anal Probe. And oh boy, did the popularity of South Park take off. So due to the new phenomena that was South Park, Zucker decided to capitalize on the show's success and to cast its creators and voice actors Trey Parker and Matt Stone in BASEketball, which when you think about it is clever, as the posters and other promotional materials can now feature the sentence, "The creators of South Park." And it brings me joy knowing that South Park is still going strong even to this day, and unlike The Simpsons or Family Guy, hasn't gone stagnant. Number 7. It was an exhausting shoot for Matt Stone and Trey Parker. Interestingly, when Matt Stone and Trey Parker committed to BASEketball, they did so under the assumption that South Park would be cancelled and thus they would be free and probably needing the work. So to them it made sense accepting the movie, as there was no chance that South Park was going to be around anymore. Except it was. South Park was greenlit for another season, which meant that Parker and Stone had to work on this new season of South Park while also filming BASEketball. This meant that they would spend all day filming BASEketball and all night working on South Park, leaving them probably very exhausted with very little sleep. Number 6. A character was created at the insistence of Parker and Stone. Okay, so I've mentioned a couple of times that BASEketball is something of a double act between Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who play the movie's main leads of Cooper and Remmer, the two dudes who invented BASEketball. However, it's actually more of a comedy trio, as the film also features the character Squeak, played by Diane Barker. Barker is a friend of both Parker and Stone, and worked with them on their previous movies, Cannibal the Musical and Orgasmo. Now, the original script of BASEketball didn't feature the character Squeak, but according to IMDb, Parker and Stone convinced David Zucker to create the character, no doubt so their friend could also star in the movie. And it's just as well as, honestly, the very first time I saw BASEketball, Squeak was actually my favourite character. Or oddly, at least the one I could relate to the most. Number 5. BASEketball created a modern slang. What's that I hear you say? BASEketball is just a silly comedy movie from the late 90s of no importance or significance? Well, think again, Buster, as BASEketball helped to create some new terminology, that being the word derp, which is often used online to describe the stupid or foolish actions of others. I myself have had plenty of derp moments. Now granted, the word derp would become more commonly used in South Park thanks to the character Mr. Derp, where it has since gone on to be a saying that's frequently used online, as mentioned, once again to describe awkward dumbass moments. But yeah, this interesting word goes all the way back to BASEketball. So when you think about it, BASEketball literally had an effect on the English language. Man, I miss the 90s. It was nicer, brighter, funnier, and there was no self-serving checkouts or sensitivity readers. Number 4. BASEketball reinvents a 1980s pop song. So everyone knows the 1985 pop song Take On Me by a-ha. Well, for BASEketball, the song had a new cover version, where it was transformed from 80s synth pop to 90s jazzy grunge punk. And yes, it's every bit as weird as that sounds. So the big question is, what does Take On Me have to do with BASEketball? Well, absolutely nothing, but a cover version of the song was made to help promote the movie. The song was performed by the band Real Big Fish, of whom appear in the movie, and the song was even accompanied by a humorous music video, which not only featured the band as BASEketball janitors, but also featured sets from the movie as well as clips. I can remember at the time I found this rendition of Take On Me to be a lot of fun, and takes the song into a more playful, cheeky direction, but it has since mainly become forgotten now, probably because the original version is such a classic. But regardless, if you want to listen to a more jazzed up punk version of Take On Me, then you have the 1998 Real Big Fish version to listen to. Number 3. Parker and Stone wanted their own cut. It's not uncommon for movies to have many deleted scenes cut from the final film. However, according to the website Consports Fandom, Parker and Stone gave an interview with Crap TV to help promote their upcoming movie at the time, Team America World Police, where they said in the interview that when it comes to BASEketball, they feel like all their best jokes were cut from the movie, and that they would like to go back to BASEketball and edit together an actor's cut. Yeah, not a director's cut, but an actor's cut, and put back in many of their favourite jokes that were removed from the final movie. I personally would be totally up for a personalised Matt Stone and Trey Parker cut of BASEketball. Speaking of actors, as mentioned, one of my favourite aspects of BASEketball is Robert Stack, who is parodying his own role of presenter of the TV show Unsolved Mysteries. And in the scenes where we see the staff in the background on computers, the people on the computers were actually playing solitaire. You know, just putting it out there. Number 2, movie poster controversy. So the original movie poster for BASEketball shows Parker and Stone as giants standing on top of a BASEketball stadium holding 2 basketballs, proving that when it comes to the sport, they have the biggest balls. However, because of the way the balls are used on the poster, representing a testable metaphor, the poster stirred up some controversy, as it was considered a little too rude and naughty. Yep, even by 1998 standards. In fact, going back to consportsfandom.com, the city of New York put a ban on the movie's poster to be advertised at bus stops. Wow, I guess they really did not like this poster. So, what do you do if you want your movie poster to be less naughty? Well, you add a Playboy Playmate, of course. No, seriously, that's what happened. As when released on home media, the cover art was modified to try and be less rude, where Jenny McCarthy, who played Yvette in the movie, was sandwiched in between Parker and Stone, where her hand is slightly covering Parker's ball gesture. And in addition to that, a different image of Stone was used, where he's holding his balls up. Yeah, look, I guess it did its job in toning the balls gag down. And hey, adding Jenny McCarthy certainly doesn't hurt the eye. So, what do I think of the controversy? Well, it's just a load of balls. Number 1. BASEketball lost an absolute ton of money. BASEketball tries to buy laughs with puerile shocks. These were the harsh words by a very annoyed Roger Ebert in his scathing review of BASEketball. So Trey Parker and Matt Stone responded to this by making an episode of South Park called Roger Ebert Should Lay Off the Fatty Foods. Oh dear. However, BASEketball was still nominated for a Razzie, so there's that. Now, BASEketball is a silly, wacky, oddball comedy that was released at the same time as Saving Private Ryan, so naturally its box office run was going to be a really bumpy ride. So much so, it opened up at the disappointing 11th spot in the box office, and it would only go on to make $7 million on a budget of $25 million, which gave the studio an $18 million loss. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, that can't be good. BASEketball naturally got poor reviews from critics because, of course it did, with its gross-out humour being criticised, with BASEketball also being compared to Zucker's other movies like Airplane and Naked Gun, and being seen as a downgrade or the weakest link. But despite the critics' attitude of, we're above this silly movie, I've always found BASEketball to be really fun, and I always have a great time watching it. Yes, it is stupid and outrageous, but that's okay. Art is allowed to be silly and outrageous. For every Saving Private Ryan, which is out to shock and traumatize, you need a BASEketball to even everything out with stupid, dumb humor, which is so stupid and dumb, it's impossible to not laugh at and just go along with it. And I do think the popularity of BASEketball has increased in time. I think a lot of people actually love it these days. When you look at all parody spoof movies like Blazing Saddles and of course Airplane, BASEketball is doing the exact same thing, only done in the 90s, and made with more of an MTV Generation X flair. So anyway, I say check out BASEketball. It's absolutely ridiculous, but brilliantly ridiculous. And there's really nothing else left to say about BASEketball. Seriously, I have no script at the moment. I haven't written an ending epilogue. This is me just making this closing scene up on the spot, and I think I've said everything I needed to say. Anyway, I'm Minty, and I would actually be interested in going to a real-life BASEketball game. Yeah, apparently the game is still going, which brings me lots of joy. Yeah. See ya!